before anyone asks why we're wearing face masks and sunglasses indoors.
Well, that's because self-care is important business, guys.
Exactly. Because these days, people care a lot about self care, like skincare, hair care, but there's one thing that people sometimes forget: body care.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not just about looking clean, but actually feeling fresh and comfortable too.
And honestly, I think one of the biggest confidence killers is body odor.
Yeah, like seriously, one bad odor experience and suddenly you become more hyper aware of your every arm movement in public. And most importantly, and the worst part is sometimes you don't even realize it's happening.
Which is why deodorants basically become part of our daily product.
But here's the interesting thing, right? What if managing our body odor isn't only in modern deodorants? What if there's a more natural solution that has been around with us this whole time?
Hi everyone! Welcome to our podcast where we talk about random things, but somehow and hopefully you will learn something useful from it.
And for today's episode, we will be talking about something surprisingly useful, very local, and honestly, it's kind of underrated, which is bananas.
Yeah, so this random plant your grandma probably told you to eat at least once in your life before?
And turns out, grandma might have been onto something.
Okay, let's be real.
Mhm.
Body odor is one of those things nobody wants to talk about, but everybody notices.
Exactly. Bad body odor in a crowded room? Absolutely not.
Okay, but
no.
the thing is, people always assume that if you are sweaty, then you are smelly. Common misconception, by the way.
Mhm.
It's not even always about hygiene, but the sweat itself is mostly odorless. And the smell usually happens when bacteria on our skin break down sweat compounds.
Which explains why some people spend 1 hour outside and come back smelling fishy.
Exactly, especially in this weather, extremely understandable.
And that's why body care matters. Not just for beauty standards or anything, but because it actually affects your comfort, your confidence, and your basic social interactions.
Like, can you imagine? You're giving a presentation and everyone in the room remembers your scent more than your slides.
No, literally, take me away. Fill me up.
Alright, now let's talk about the main characters of today's episode, which is Beluntas.
I feel like a lot of people have seen this plant before, but they don't really pay attention to it.
Like probably so Beluntas or Pluchea indica is a shrub plant commonly found in Indonesia and other Southeast Asian countries. It has a green leaf, a pretty strong aroma, and apparently people have used it for generations in traditional medicines.
And interestingly, that aroma is one of the reasons why is it associated with the body odor management. Traditionally, Beluntas has been used to reduce body odor and bad breath. Not only dealing with odor, but they can also improve appetite, help digestion, reduce fever, relieve rheumatism pain, and even help with irregular menstruation.
So it's not just a random plant that you keep around the house, but it's actually been part of traditional medicine for quite a while.
And yeah, and apparently different countries use it differently too. In Indonesia and Thailand, for example, beluntas is commonly consumed as a herbal tea or as a fresh vegetable with meals. And in traditional healing practices, crushed beluntas leaves are sometimes applied directly onto the wounds because of their potential wound healing properties.
What makes Beluntas even more interesting is how closely it is connected to our local culture.
Right. Usually for us, it's for lalapan, right?
Yeah. And also in dishes like ura, botok, and sometimes even pakwan,
Ah.
which is actually common in many Southeast Asian countries. In Thailand, for example, Beluntas is used in spicy salads and coconut-based soups.
So technically, we've been doing herbal wellness before it became a thing in social media, right?
Right, exactly. And now herbal drinks suddenly become trendy and inexpensive, but plants like Beluntas have been around the whole time.
And beyond food, Beluntas has also had a long history in traditional medicine. So, for example, in Malaysia, it is traditionally used for body odor, rheumatism, ulcers, boils, and even digestive issues.
And honestly, traditional knowledge matters. A lot modern medicine actually starts from observing how communities have used plants for generations.
Right. So traditional use alone isn't enough proof scientifically, but it gives us researchers clues about what plants might have useful bioactive compounds or those that deserve further study, right? And apparently Beluntas ended up being one of those plants with pretty interesting results.
So, after hearing all of those traditional uses, I think the question now is, how does Beluntas actually work? Like, scientifically speaking.
Okay, so scientifically, Beluntas or Pluchea indica is considered as a medicinal plant because it contains multiple phytochemical compounds with its respective biological activity. So the major compounds identified include flavonoids, phenolic compounds, tannins, alkaloids, saponins, and chlorogenic acid, which these compounds contribute to several pharmacological activities, including antibacterial, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and several metabolic effects.
So the health effects are not coming from just one compound, but from combinations of bioactive substances working together.
Correct. So, for example, phenolic compounds and flavonoids are strongly associated with antioxidant activity, right? So, Beluntas actually has a relatively high phenolic content, even reported to be higher than basil oil leaf.
Interesting.
Okay. So, as previously mentioned, body odor itself is not directly caused by sweat. So, sweat becomes odorous when bacteria on the skin metabolizes the sweat components, particularly the proteins and the lipids, which then produces the volatile compounds and, the unpleasant smells. And several bacteria commonly associated with the body odors include Staphylococcus aureus and Staphylococcus epidermidis. So, studies on Beluntas extracts actually demonstrate inhibitory effects against these types of bacteria.
So the target itself is not the sweat, but it's the bacteria that possess.
Exactly. So there is a research show that Beluntas extract possesses antibacterial properties that can suppress bacterial growth and through several mechanisms. And first, its bioactive compounds like flavonoids and essential oil, they can damage this bacterial cell membrane's integrity. And when this membrane become unstable, these important cellular components will leak out and leads to bacterial death.
Yeah, I also heard that Beluntas compounds can cause osmotic imbalance, and as it may increase the osmotic pressure within the bacterial cells. That way, it can cause cellular dysfunction. So basically, the compounds attack bacteria from multiple directions. The multi-target mechanism is one reason medicinal plants are interesting in antimicrobial research. And the results from several studies are quite interesting. A lot of research evaluated the antibacterial activity of Beluntas extracts using different extraction methods. One study compared fresh and dried Beluntas extract and found that fresh extracts produce larger inhibition zones against bacteria such as Staphylococcus aureus, E. coli, and Salmonella.
Yeah, and I've also read the study where researchers actually formulated Beluntas into a roll-on deodorant. So the product basically showed a strong antibacterial activity against the odor-causing bacteria that was mentioned previously, and it remained physically stable, meaning for approximately like 8 weeks without causing any skin irritation. So it's not only theoretical anymore. People are actually already testing it for real products.
So yeah, I also came across this paper that where they tested medicines that contain Beluntas, ginger, and cannabis acid. And what's interesting is that these combination they work synergistically to reduce the activity of this Staphylococcus epidermidis.
Antibacterial activity is not the only interesting thing about Beluntas. Another major reason it's considered as functional food because of its antioxidant activity. As we all know, antioxidants function by neutralizing reactive oxygen species, or ROS, or commonly we know it as free radicals.
Okay, so when they accumulate, they can lead to oxidative stress, which contributes to this cellular damage and inflammation. And over time, it may contribute to more serious health problems. And so to scavenge this, we need a radical scavenger to stabilize the free radicals. Well, as mentioned previously, Beluntas has a strong antioxidant activity due to its high phenolic and flavonoid content. So, by stabilizing these free radicals, the compounds can help prevent oxidative chain reactions that can damage the cell and tissues.
Yeah, and beyond antibacterial and antioxidant properties, obviously Beluntas also shows a lot of anti-inflammatory potential. So compounds like flavonoids and chlorogenic acid that you already previously mentioned can actually help suppress inflammatory pathways.
So, how does that work?
Basically, they can reduce the production of inflammatory mediators. So those are the signals in our body that trigger the inflammation itself, which is important for chronic inflammation, which is linked to metabolic diseases such as diabetes or cardiovascular diseases. And some studies even suggest that Beluntas might have a broader metabolic benefits as well.
Such as?
Well, such as like reducing cholesterol levels or lowering triglycerides, as well as improving the hyperglycemia, which is related to sugar
Yeah,
levels. Yeah.
blood sugar level.
Mhm.
Okay, so far, Beluntas sounds really promising. It has antibacterial activity, antioxidant properties, and potential metabolic benefits. But in science, something being promising is not enough. We need to know if they are effective, and more importantly, is it safe?
Okay, well, actually, there's one study I found that tested Beluntas extract in a roll-on deodorant against Staphylococcus epidermidis, which is one of the bacteria associated with body odor. So they used this something called MIC method, or minimum inhibitory concentration, to find the lowest concentration needed to stop bacterial growth. So they tested the concentration from 0.5 up to 25%, and they found that the concentration above 3% were already effective at inhibiting bacterial growth. And the extract also showed antibacterial activity against several outdoor bacteria.
Yeah, so the effectiveness assessment alone is not enough. If Beluntas is going to be used and developed into functional foods and body care products, then safety testing is also really important, right? So one study tested Beluntas extract on fibroblast cells, which are important for skin and tissue reparation. So higher concentrations, about 125 to 500 micrograms per milliliter, showed cytotoxic effects, which essentially means that they are significantly reducing the cell viability. So the less toxic, lower concentrations, below or equal to 62.5 micrograms per milliliter, were considered less toxic. And the lowest concentration of 7.81 micrograms per milliliter did not negatively affect the fibroblast viability at all, which then basically shows how the dosage of the concentration in the product matters, especially in development.
Okay, so overall, all those evidence points toward a good potential, right? But I feel like even though the results are promising, the researchers still need to emphasize the need for a larger human clinical trials, a more standardized dosages, long-term toxicity studies to make sure that it is safe for extended use, and optimize the extraction method to get its bioactive compounds before converting Beluntas into a fully developed, standardized functional food or pharmaceutical products.
So the evidence we've seen so far is quite promising. We can see the evidence, but yeah, we still need some work on a few things. But to be honest, after hearing all of that, Beluntas sounds less like a random backyard blend, and more like an underrated functional
Yeah,
food
and
source.
based on current studies, Beluntas actually has a quite wide range of potential application. It could be developed into herbal teas, capsules, dietary supplements, and even used in a complementary herbal medicine formulation.
Yeah, and another interesting aspect we shouldn't miss is, say what we now, sustainability.
Right, sustainability. It's a huge topic nowadays as people becoming more concerned about sustainable health and environmentally friendly products.
Yes, and traditional herbal medicine is often considered environmentally friendly because it requires less energy, it has lower production costs compared to anything synthetic pharmaceutical.
Exactly. And since Beluntas grow abundantly in tropical regions, which means it's relatively affordable and accessible for local cultivation, so that means communities can develop economic value from it.
And building on that idea of making it more valuable and consistent, researchers have also explored ways to optimize its quality from the production side. One proposed approach is tissue culture technology, which may help enhance important compounds like phenolics that contributes to the antioxidant activity.
Yeah, and at the same time, researchers also emphasize the importance of post harvest management things, right? Like harvesting methods, storage conditions, and processing techniques to maintain the product quality. So, turns out our grandparents, were kind of solving problems with leaves decades ago.
That's exactly why integrating traditional knowledge with scientific research is so important because local plants can have a major potential in the future health and wellness industries.
Okay, so moral of the story.
Eat greens and, of course, take a good care of your body.
And the next time you see Beluntas, maybe even if it's next to your fried chicken, don't ignore it.
So thank you all for listening.
See you
next
next time!